Welcome to Virtual Assistants, the Agency Growth Machine podcast. Take your digital marketing agency to the next level as we share secrets, strategies, and client success stories. Step back from the day-to-day of your agency and activate massive growth using virtual assistants. And now your host, Azar Siddiqui.
All right. We have our amazing guest, Mr. Dennis Yu today. If you're in the marketing world, I don't think Dennis needs an introduction. I've been hearing from Dennis, going through some of his courses. I believe from what I've seen, 50 plus courses on the internet right now. That's just on the courses side. He's an author. He's running his own agency, a former worker at Yahoo. And, so many amazing things about Dennis. That Dennis is a great personality to just hang out with. I've been virtually hanging out with him on some different masterminds. Didn't get a chance to hang out with him face to face, but we're confident that's going to happen real soon. But Dennis, welcome to our show. How are you doing today, sir?
Good morning, Azar. Doing great. It's a sunny day in Vegas.
Nice. Yeah, I'm here in Calgary recording this. It's not too bad for the last week or so, but Vegas is a whole different ball game. So Dennis, I'd like to jump in and get this going. And, I'm sure a lot of our followers are wanting to know who Dennis Yu really is, and, maybe walk us through how you were, how your upbringing was, and, were you like a straight A student? And how did you get into marketing and then working at Yahoo and then coming to Blitz Metrics? I know it's a mouthful, but give us a bit of a summary there, please, if you can.
I was a good Asian student. I did well at math. And I enjoyed things like building websites. That was over 30 years ago. And I didn't have the people skills. I didn't know anything about management. I didn't know how to communicate. I was so scared that I couldn't even pick up the phone and talk to people because I didn't know what to say. And I was what was called back then a paper tiger. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, actually, I just heard it on one of your videos where you're a straight A student, but missing out on some of the communication skills and things like that. Is that correct?
Yeah. So on paper, I look good because I knew how to ace tests. I knew how to get good scores on the SAT and how to get good grades. But when it came to things like applying for jobs, I just didn't know what to do. I wanted to work at Nike and I couldn't even get an interview. I had all the scores. I did the essays and I did all the research, but the whole thing about building relationships, I just was frustrated because there were people that were, for example, getting into Nike who were B students, but they had a connection. And it just made me so mad because it didn't seem fair. And I applied to a lot of different places. I wanted to work at American Airlines, couldn't even get an interview, right? And I thought, well, maybe I just don't have the charisma. Maybe I don't have talent. Maybe it's just all about, how well you can shake hands and smile and make friends and go drinking and, things I didn't want to do. But I was really lucky because I had a mentor and he happened to be the CEO of American Airlines. And he taught me everything about networking and introduced me to other people and taught me how to speak and taught me how to do lots of things that for most of you guys are going to be pretty obvious. So fast forward 25, 30 years later, and I learned how to speak on stage. I did my first keynote address. I think it was 1998. I was the closing keynote at the Epiphany conference with 2,000 people in the audience, which is crazy. I did Toastmasters to prepare. I learned how to play golf so I could network with other people. And because of what happened at American Airlines, I got invited to be at this little company called Yahoo. So I helped build the analytics at Yahoo. And
Yahoo was still pretty big back then, right? This is probably mid 90s or late 90s we're talking about.
Yeah. Do you know where Yahoo came from? Where the brand?
No, you can, if you don't
Almost
mind
nobody
refreshing
knows.
my memory.
The logo and the branding and all of that was stolen from the Yahoo Cake Company.
Really?
Exactly the same. And this Yahoo Cake Company now, obviously they make a lot more money off of the Yahoo stock than selling the cakes that they had before mail order.
Okay. Okay.
But
That's
it's
good
kind
to
of
know.
funny because, Yahoo ripped off the logo and all of the branding from
Hmm.
the cake company. But then, where Google got their ability to monetize. Like a lot of people don't know that Google didn't have any revenue for the first 10 years of their existence as
Hmm.
a search engine,
Hmm.
is because they completely stole it from Yahoo. And you
Okay.
can see that there was a lawsuit. And when Google IPO'd, and a lot of the people on my team went to go work at Google, and I was thinking, you guys are not being very loyal. But then some of the people on my team, when Google IPO'd, they made $100 million, which is crazy,
Hmm.
right? And then retired and bought property in Hawaii and all that, because
Yeah.
everything around how Google makes money in an auction where people are bidding on keywords was completely stolen off of Yahoo. But Yahoo had filed that lawsuit years in advance because they were waiting for the time when Google had the money, which is when they would IPO. So I thought it was kind of fitting that, the thievery that occurred with the Yahoo Cake Company was the
Yeah.
same thing that Google did to Yahoo.
Hmm.
And then,
But
then you
they
saw
did
like,
pay them back and all of
yeah,
that stuff, right? In these
yeah.
lawsuits. So ways of making money, and that's incredible. And a lot of these things happen. Even, there's a lot of stuff about Microsoft in the
Mm-hmm.
90s, what they did, and how they ripped off a lot of smaller brands and companies and took their ideas and just did it themselves, or just took over
Yeah.
with blatant rights violations there. So but I'm hoping that we're into a better, more cultured internet right now, but there's still lots going on still, right, Dennis?
Everything is still the same. Nothing is really new, in my opinion. So in
Hmm.
the same way that search was really just the same algorithm. So one of the things we had at Yahoo, for example, was we had it was an engineering driven company. So before Terry Semmel and all the other folks that turned into marketing and partnerships, we built a lot of tools. We built our own mail, we built sports, we built search, we built everything. We built personals. We had 3 engineers that built Yahoo Personals and built that into $100 million a year business.
Nice, nice.
And
So,
one of the things we did was you would do a search for something, let's say like, find a VA or something.
mhm.
And it would show Google and Yahoo search results side by side, but it would randomly mix them up. So you couldn't tell which side was which side.
Mhm.
And nobody could tell the difference. Nobody could tell whose search results were better. And in fact, the results came out almost exactly the same, including all the way down to the copyright note in the footer, right?
Hmm.
But
So
because
what?
Google did better marketing, people thought
Yeah.
that Google had a better product because it was cleaner, because they did really good PR. So one of my friends, we would have lunch every day. His name was Mitch. His wife ran marketing for Google, or
Hmm.
PR, which was basically their marketing. And their whole thing was taking care of journalists and wining and dining them and making them feel like they had a special angle, right? That they were
Hmm.
special on the latest news. And so that's how Google got all this great PR, by manipulating the media. And I thought, wow, it's incredible how Google, without having a better product or a different product, was able to win. And nowadays we know that whoever has the better marketing generally will
Hmm.
win. But then you saw Facebook came along, for example, right? And where did Facebook get their sales from? Their sales team or their operations?
Google?
Google, Sheryl Sandberg, right? Who then became Mark hired to be Facebook COO. And even Facebook chef was
Hmm.
stolen from Google, right?
So you're doing these amazing things at Yahoo, building out the analytics department and working inside paid ads. And so at what point did you decide to go out on your own, and Blitz Matrix came into being, or was there something else before Blitz?
I never really felt that I was starting an agency, because the last 25 years or so, 30 years plus, I've been running an agency. Even before I was at American Airlines, when I was at Southern Methodist University, I ran an agency and I was building websites. This was over 30 years ago. And when I was at Yahoo and I started to build a team and we served all the different properties, mail, sports, finance, shopping, travel, small biz, I was running an internal agency because our agency had to serve all the different properties that were within Yahoo. So I had to learn, how do you build an account management team? How do you deliver ads at scale? How do you spend money on PPC? Which is crazy. Like, imagine I'm spending the majority of Yahoo's money on PPC and the CEO saying, why are you spending all this money on Google ads when you can spend money on Yahoo ads? And I said, because you're charging my budget the same, whether it's a Yahoo dollar or a Google dollar, it's still the same dollar. So if you gave me the Yahoo money for free, I would spend more money on Yahoo, but I have a P&L, right? I have to drive leads, I have to drive sales, right? So I learned about building an agency, a big agency inside a search engine. So I had certain advantages. For example, for Yahoo Personals, which back then was a big dating site, before it became a big dating site, we had to compete against eHarmony and Match and all these other big dating sites. Imagine you were starting a dating site and no one knew who it was, personals.yahoo.com. And there are already established big dating websites. And your website is starting with no customers, right? Nobody, no members, no profiles at all. What would you do? So I had the benefit of all the search data on Yahoo. So I could use all the search data, which I think today would be illegal. Maybe put me in jail because that all the data that people were searching on. And because we had the search engine where we had PPC, I could grab all the campaigns from Match.com and eHarmony and all the other people. So I had all the competitors. I knew what their ads were. I knew what they were paying. I knew back then Yahoo was the #1 website on the planet. So I had the traffic from the #1 site on the planet, all the queries, all the paid data, because all the competitors, right? Imagine today if you worked at Google and you had all the data on Google AdWords and what people were bidding and the keywords and all this. So I had this huge advantage, which allowed me to run ads. So arguably, at one point in time, I was the best PPC marketer on the planet because I had everyone's data, right? I knew how well it converted. I knew what they were saying in the ads. I knew their targeting strategies. I knew all of this kind of stuff so that I could do a better version of all those ads. So I learned how to do PPC off of looking at everyone else's ads, which I think gave me a very unique view, right?
Yeah.
How cool is that?
That's incredible.
I learned how to build campaigns off of all this data, and I had more data, and we had 13 terabytes of data per day. That was Yahoo search log. So we had so much data that it was beyond the realm of commercial databases. So we had to build our own operating system to handle all this data.
So you continue to, you've been in the agency world from the get-go.
Yeah.
You work the communication stuff. I can definitely relate to that. I've been wanting to launch my own agency since I was in university in Minnesota back in 2002. But if my life depended on it, I couldn't sell anything. It was a tough time for me to communicate with people. Yeah. So, I got myself a sales job at Best Buy, learned how to sell, learned how to communicate while I continued to make some money and, kept on going back to my agency idea. And eventually, was able to sell the first few deals in 2008. And that was the start of the agency era for me. But that's very relatable where, for business owners or agency owners, you really want to overcome some of these things, which are key and core. Like, for example, you talking on stage, I could never tell what you just told me about, the paper tiger and things like that you had to go through. That's incredible. And really look up to you for that because you make it so easy when you're up there and, the people who are communicating with you. It's a really, low key environment and very comfortable communicating with you. So amazing, not just overcoming it, but becoming a pro at it, Dennis. So then now you're inside Blitz and you're doing these amazing things from, servicing clients to helping people grow their careers as VAs, and these trainings focused on agency sides and focused on virtual assistant side. So So, before we jump into the nitty gritty of that particular business, there's one thing I want to quickly talk to you about is there's this trademark term that you call dollar a day. If you quickly want to share with us what that strategy is, and it's incredibly simple, but not too many of us think about it. But if you just quickly want to give us the overview of that strategy, Dennis, I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate it.
Dollar a day is the key for you to drive sales in a way that follows a model we call inception, meaning people don't even realize it's an ad because it's a dream inside the dream inside the dream. Mm-hmm. So I've spent over $1 billion using this technique over the last 14 years. And we've done it on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest, every single channel, right? And the reason it works is because it's a testing strategy. So some people say, oh, dollar a day won't work anymore because ads cost a lot more. Actually, it's more effective because the idea of testing is you might have 10 different ads, 100 different ads, and you want to let the algorithm pick which one is going to work. So just like when you're running Google ads, you might have a number of combinations of ad copy and landing pages and bids and keywords and all of this, and you don't know which one is going to win. So you put lots of different pieces out there, not randomly, but organized around these different themes, especially with 1-minute videos. So if you have a bunch of these 1-minute videos and you put $1 a day against each of them, you can scale up and you can find winners. And this works not just for small businesses, but big businesses. So we did this testing for Infusionsoft, which is now called Keep. And we made a bunch of different videos with the CEO eating fried chicken, with a pretty woman talking about lead gen and how difficult it is to build the website and marketing automation. I made videos talking about dollar a day. All of us, we made a bunch of these different videos around themes that we know work, but around driving people to try Infusionsoft, right? Or try Keep for their marketing automation, for email, for shopping carts, for landing pages. And we made lots of these ads. And there's no way you would have guessed which one was the winner. Right. Even me with a lot of experience, like, oh, I think I know a lot about digital marketing.
Yeah.
No way I could have told which one was the winner. In hindsight, you could say, oh, yeah, this one was going to do better.
Yeah.
But it's like a singing competition, the ones where there's a big contest and eventually it gets eliminated until there's someone who wins at the very top, or like, March Madness, and, you have these different brackets and someone wins at the very top. And so that's what we're doing. We're letting the algorithm figure out what is the winner. And even though we're spending $7 on each of these ads, the one that eventually won, we put more and more money on at each of these different levels until there's one left, and we put $1.3 million against that winner.
Nice.
There was no risk against that because that ad won through multiple different levels. And Sheryl Sandberg sent us a plaque saying, congratulations because we spent so much money or because we were using the ad system to drive leads. And it had nothing to do with some fancy technique or some magic or some secret. It was just, let's try themes that are working. So we know the pain points. We know the words that our customers are using. We know how we differentiate product market fit. We know we have the right strategy, the goals, content, and targeting, right? And now we're letting the algorithm figure out which particular creative and which particular audience combination would do the best work for us. And that's all it is. And
beautiful.
It seems very simple, but the key is the creative piece. I want to tell you one other thing that I think almost every single agency owner is going to miss, because I didn't understand this. So people would look at us and they'd say, how did you get Nike as a client, or Quiznos, or Starbucks, or, the Golden State Warriors, which is a classic client. We had them for 5.5 years. It was fantastic, right? People would say, oh, it must be like your sales technique, or the way that you give a sales presentation, or the way you negotiate, or the way that you build relationships, or because you know somebody, or because whatever it is. And I'll say, no, it's none of those things. So for the agencies that are out there looking to get more sales, and I'd say the same is true for RepStack, that wants to be able to develop more agency relationships and do the white label VA thing. It was all based on the word of mouth that causes inbound marketing. So the thing that I did, all the stuff I did at Yahoo, where I built relationships and we drove sales and we did all kinds of great things at Yahoo, because whatever. I guess I was cheating. I had all this data, right? But we drove all these great results. And while I was Yahoo, that caused other people in the industry to reach out to me saying, hey, can you optimize my campaigns? Well, I had a friend, Kay Hickson, and she was the chief marketing officer of Grameen Foundation, right? Grameen Foundation is a multi-billion-dollar microfinance nonprofit organization. So I volunteered and we ran their Google ads, their Google grants for free, right? We got Dr. Yunus, who won a Nobel Prize, live streamed the blog. We did lots of things that were the very first in the industry to do these things. And so we built a reputation by doing these good things, which then caused more people to come our way. And then so-and-so knew so-and-so who told other people. And then my friend Kenny Lauer, he was at George P. Johnson.
Is that the only marketing strategy that you have right now, Dennis? Or
that is the only marketing strategy I've ever employed. And that is what has gotten me all the clients that have all come to me, right? No outbound sales calls, no, let's hop on a 15-minute call, no cold email, no cold outreach, zero salespeople.
And no marketing budget here.
Well, you could argue that all of it is marketing, or you could argue none of it is marketing. But the point is thought leadership. So if you publish how you do stuff, then it'll get around, right? So when we published on Facebook's blog, how do we run ads for the Golden State Warriors and how every $1 turned into $38 of measurable Ticketmaster revenue. That caused the Houston Rockets and the Portland Trail Blazers and other teams, Chicago Bulls and Phoenix Suns, and then some of the big soccer teams, which
that's amazing,
are called football in Europe. So the biggest teams on the planet came our way saying, hey, can you do the same thing? You want to know how we got Nike? Nike was my dream job. I wanted to work at Nike, right?
Yeah, you wanted to get in, and you're having trouble back then. So
yeah, I wanted to be an employee at Nike, and they rejected me. Yeah, I had a good resume, all of this sort of stuff, right?
Now you have them as a client. So what changed? What happened?
Well, because of word of mouth, some folks who ran digital marketing at Adidas reached out saying, hey, we've seen some of the analytics work that you've done and ads work that you've done for some of these other folks. Can you do this for us in the Olympics, right? And I said, of course, I love Adidas. But secretly, my heart was at Nike. So I'm like, yeah, I really like to have Nike. But if Adidas says, yeah, would you like to do
stone.
Yeah. So we did a great job with Adidas. We did a lot of great stuff. And you know how Yahoo and Google are really just a couple miles apart, right? So I lived in Mountain View when I was at Yahoo. So I would ride my bike to Yahoo to get the little exercise and, whatnot. But I'd also ride my bike over to Google because they had better food. So I would, put food in my backpack, and their food was free, and Yahoo we had to pay a couple dollars for the meals,
Nice.
But they were right next to each other. So it's all the same people. They all talked. We all knew what was going on. It's not like some collusion kind of thing because we're just all friends with each other in the industry. And the same is true. So, Adidas USA is based in Portland. Where is Nike based?
Isn't it in Washington somewhere?
Portland.
Okay.
They're right next door to each other.
Okay.
So we did good work for Adidas, and they talked to their friends at Nike. So because of what we did at Adidas, Nike reached out saying, hey, we heard what you did for Adidas. Can you do the same kind of stuff for us at Nike? So we did these different projects for Nike. And as we did more things for Nike, our friends at Adidas said, hey, what are you doing over at Nike? Oh, I can't tell you because, obviously you wouldn't want me to tell Nike what we're doing for you at Adidas. So we had both of them. And this allowed us to be able to staff teams, which I thought this would be kind of illegal because I talked to our attorney and I said, what is the deal here? He said, when you have two companies that are competitors in the same industry, that's called a conflict of interest. But when you have three, that's called a practice, right? And it was at the same time that we had Red Bull as a client, and we're doing a bunch of analytics and Facebook ads for Red Bull and across 91 different countries, right? They did lots of cool stuff. I love visiting with them, and their headquarters or the US headquarters in Santa Monica. I would go and, drink Red Bull. They had Red Bull fridges in every single one of the conference rooms. I'd go there, not sleep for 3 days because, I was drinking all the different Red Bulls. But at the same time we had Red Bull, we also got Monster and Rockstar as clients at the same time.
That's an agency for you right there. So that's the
Yeah,
beauty
that
of the
alone was
business
an
we're in.
just those 3 clients is enough to build a 7-figure agency, right?
Nice, nice.
But the
So
thing, yeah, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt you there, Dennis, but one question that we automatically went into was the marketing, and you being a thought leader is, really all the marketing that you've ever needed, which is incredible. And that's, kind of how things are working for you. But if we can just quickly shed some light on how your sales process works on, when you're closing these big deals, like is there a process to that madness, or you
Yeah, there
just go
is.
and
They
so
all
maybe
come,
talk about that a little bit.
they all
And
come
then why you,
pre-qualified. So this is where dollar a day comes in.
okay.
So if you have something interesting to say, something worthwhile. So let's say that I have an article, and you can Google it and see this is true. I have an article in the LA Times talking about what is Disney and Hollywood and other movie studios going to do with Facebook to release their films, to do, whatever, or what is a fan worth, all the stuff around, what do we do about Facebook as this new marketing vehicle where anybody can come in and release a film or become famous or whatnot, right? So the LA Times interviewed me, and I took that article and then I boosted it $1 a day for all the people that work at the Washington Post, that work at the New York Times, that work at NPR, that work at the Chicago Tribune, that work at Fox News.
Nice.
So if you Google me on any of these other outlets, Google like Dennis Yu Washington Post or whatever it is, you'll see articles I have and videos where I'm on TV and the radio and all this. And you know why? Is because I use $1 a day to target the journalists who work at the Washington Post, not who read the Washington, not who are fans of the Washington Post, but who work at. So $1 a day has been my secret weapon this entire time.
So you can do this as geo-targeting, and people who are at these offices, they'll see your ads and who Dennis is and things like that. That's incredible, man. That's such an amazing strategy, and tells me that you're a true agency person, because it's incredible the marketing ideas that use them, and you're using top of the food chain marketing idea over here. So when it comes down to closing a deal, how does that process look like, Dennis? Do you have a sales team supporting you in the back end as well?
We'll refer to other partners, but because we rely upon an inbound strategy instead of outbound cold call, appointment setting, we don't do any of that. By the time they come to us, they want to work with us. They know that if we're working with, say, Ashley Furniture, and they're the world's largest furniture retailer, they're bigger than IKEA because they have more locations and all this. They already know that, so there's not going to be an issue with budget, right? There's not going to be an issue. Well, how are you different than these other people? You see the difference between cold and warm, right? If it's inbound and it's warm and you already have authority, by the time they talk to someone like me, they view this as a consultation that's super, super valuable. And usually by the time it comes to having a conversation with me, they've paid for that, right? They pay to have an opportunity to talk to me, when really I guess you could call it a sales call, but I'm like an emergency room surgeon where I'm diagnosing what's going on, right?
It's sort of like when you go hire a really good lawyer, you really can't talk to them unless, you've paid for the initial consultation and, for an hour or, 15 minutes of their time. So I can totally relate to that. And it's perfect that, you bring that process inside the agency world, because, as digital marketing agency owners, a lot of us small start out from our home offices or dining room tables and things like that. And some of these things are really far-fetched to us, but if there's definitely ways. Dennis has done it, and I have, we have friends like Josh Nelson, who's doing a great job at similar type of marketing. So it's definitely something to think about, guys. And so my last question in this realm to you, Dennis, is, you mentioned just a while back, there's one client who stuck around for 5.5 years with you. So you're obviously doing a great job at retention. We want to bring in these clients and we want to retain them for as long as possible. So how is that process? Like, do you have account managers who are responsible for making sure these accounts stay with you years over years and months over month? How is that process working?
So first off, you have to deliver performance, right? Even if
Yeah.
they like you and all this, if you don't deliver the results, they're going to fire you. So
For
we
sure.
believe the account manager, and I think before we hit record, we agree on some of the same things. We believe the account manager is a mini agency owner. So we call them intrapreneurs instead of entrepreneurs,
Nice.
because they're running their own little business, right? There's revenue and there's cost and there's team members and there's campaigns and there's communicate. They're really running a little business, right? And so we want to empower them, kind of like, you know, if you're McDonald's and you have all these different franchises, you have to have the SOPs so that when someone who they want to open their own McDonald's, or maybe McDonald's is not a good example because people will complain about the food, but the point is there's an SOP for consistency, right? And so when people are trained up, this is how exactly we do everything here, then it's like training wheels. So they're less likely to fall down. So here's the report that we send them every week. It's in this kind of format. It's generated in a certain way. Call them and walk them through for 5 minutes on what this is. And every month or every quarter, send them the success tracker, which is a more in-depth, you know, piece talking about what's going on and the bigger plans, the strategy level, instead of the tactical level. So all the training to empower a lot of young adults and house moms and other people that they want to be entrepreneurs and they want to start an agency, but they realize that they need to progress as an apprentice in a way where they're learning instead of trying to start an agency all by themselves, fresh out of college with no skill, no experience, no brand, no team members. Good luck, right?
So account manager is really, that's a starting point for a lot of these people, you think, and you guys give them this training and almost like a franchise model that you guys are giving them with, you know, all the steps and all the blueprints, and they go in and execute. Is there like a commission structure tied to their salaries as well, Dennis, in this model?
We don't do any kind of commission because that would eventually turn into an MLM or network marketing. And I have no qualms against MLM. But the point is, anyone who joins our program or even goes through our training has to believe in mentorship, meaning you learn it yourself and then you're going to pass it down to other people and train them up, and they're going to train up other people. And that's how you scale teams. If you have people that don't believe in documenting what they're doing and sharing it and publishing it, and we have a particular way we like to build case studies and we like to teach and whatnot, that's actually the key to our inbound marketing as well. Because when we drive great results for a client, then we want to be able to publish that so then we can put it on platforms where other people can see exactly how that's done.
Incredible. That's incredible. And that's, you know, that we all always talk about paying these account managers more and performance-based salary stuff. You don't think of the other side of the equation where, you know, giving back and being, leading from moral authority and things like that inside the agency world. So that's a really fresh perspective. I really enjoyed it. My last question, Dennis, to you would be to find out, you know, you're doing these incredible things. You're working with these dream clients with, you know, a lot of us agency owners would kill to get to. What's been the why behind building the Dennis Yu brand or building out Blitz Metrics? Like what's the real core reason behind it?
So Azar, it's been mentorship for 30 something years. And every opportunity that I've ever had, every success I've ever had has been because a mentor opened the door for me. And it wasn't because I was smart. It wasn't because, you know, I worked really hard. Of course I worked hard, right? But there are a lot of people that are smarter, a lot of people that are just better, just a lot of people that just, you know, I'm pretty good, but everything I've ever had was because someone else believed in me and they gave me an opportunity, which arguably wasn't even fair. And maybe I didn't even deserve it. Right. And I want to provide that same opportunity for other people. And while I have mentored a lot of people one-on-one for the last 30 years, because at the heart, I'm a teacher, I'm a tutor, I'm a coach, I'm a cheerleader. I want to see other people learn something. I want to see people win. I don't want to just hand them the fish. I want to teach them the fish. Right. But there's only so much I could do as one person, you know, because you have like these mentorship things where informally you might mentor 2 or 3 other agency owners, right? And we do a lot of that. But what if there were a larger program that work together with the school system. So it's not that the university system's a scam or whatever it is, but what if you could go to college and you could also get work experience at the same time, adopting a local business? So your student, for example, the University of the Sunshine Coast, my friend, Dr. Karen Sutherland, has hundreds of students every year that goes through their degree for social media and PR. But while they do that, they go through our training program and they adopt local businesses and implement $1 a day, implement 1-minute video.
Nice.
And they have to meet with their clients every week and say, this is how our stuff is doing. They have to learn communication skills, right? By running mini agencies. Or at Ensign College or LDS Business College, University of San Diego, University of Louisville, other students at all these other universities are running micro agencies, student-run agencies while they're still in school. I just love seeing that, right? We donate our time, we donate guest lecturing, we donate our training, we donate all this stuff to all these universities. And I just love seeing that because a lot of these folks, they're starting their agencies while they're still in school. And so by the time they graduate, who do you think is going to do better in digital marketing? Someone who's been doing it for several years and has real experience and has referenceable clients, or someone who has a resume, right?
So true.
It says they took these classes, that has a couple of recommendations. Maybe they had some internships, but you know, these internships are usually garbage, right? Because they're not structured, because they didn't really achieve anything. They're just doing menial tasks like making copies and getting coffee, right? Versus someone in our program who's actually done this and followed our whole process and drove leads and drove sales and drove some kind of real business result. And they're leading digital marketing. They're leading the social media marketing. They have a plan. They have a playbook, you know, like the playbook could be this thing we're doing with Jake Paul. This is the training that Jake Paul and I made together. He came to me and said, let's create a training program. And so we did, right? And my friend Perry Marshall, you know, this is the #1 book in Facebook advertising. It's always been #1. My friend Perry Marshall, right? And I got a bunch of stuff in here. It talks about $1 a day inside this book. It talks about how do you do this.
Incredible.
And the same thing for Google Ads, and the same thing for TikTok, and the same thing for all that. We're providing the formula that we know that works with all the other industry leaders. So it could be Josh Nelson, it could be JC Height, it could be our friends at GoDaddy or HubSpot or Fiverr. So we're all on the same page because we want to create jobs. And so my mission is to create 1 million jobs. That's why we partner with my friend John Jonas, who runs onlinejobs.ph. So in the Philippines, he's got 2 million Filipinos on the world's largest VA site, right? Our training's in there, right?
Yeah, that's such a holistic approach. It's been so powerful learning from you, Dennis, today. I know you're going to be a part of the ad world that's coming up in start of May, I believe. You're speaking in which track? Do you know what topic you're talking about, or what are you?
Yeah,
what's going on there?
We're talking about the content factory. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're an agency owner, if you're an expert or some figurehead in some way, how do you do things like our friends at RepStack here, right? Doing these podcasts. How do you take long form video? Could be a Zoom call, right? And turn it into lots and lots of little pieces that build your authority. How do you cut it into 1-minute videos and then run ads against it for $1 a day? How do you process this content, right? Jonathan Bannister talked about this at our 7-figure agency mastermind in Miami last month.
Yeah.
How he's got a large team of VAs that repurpose content and do operational back-end things. So we're talking about how do you do content at scale, which you call the content factory, whether there's just one worker in your factory. Let's say it's a freelancer on Upwork or a VA you have on one of the sites, all the way up to teams of VAs where there's hundreds of VAs. But if you want to grow your business, you need to have content and you need to run ads that don't look like ads. So that's what we're talking about for Ad World.
That's incredible. Josh and I are going to be in the growth track there, talking about the importance of getting your own marketing kickstarted, whichever method that might be. Having a sales department for your own agency, and then for retention account managers and things like that. Advil's on May 2nd and 3rd. So if you guys want to catch Dennis talk about this amazing content engine, I know I'm excited about it. I'm not going to be missing that. But it's such a beautiful thing. If you're wanting to create a career inside digital marketing, you reach out to Dennis. If you want to take your business to the next level, you reach out to Dennis, and a complete holistic view from start to finish. So Dennis, thank you so much for being on our show. I'm sure this is going to be an amazing hit episode. Anything before you want to head out and get back to your Vegas weather?
So for us to create jobs, which is the thing that's valuable to me, we need to employ agency owners to be able to grow. So partnering with guys like you and Josh Nelson and other people are key to being able to put training programs in place. Some agencies, they're happy to go through a lot of the training that we have here, but some agencies, they want to go a little bit further. And so agencies that we partner with, because we have a lot of these leads that come in, because we produce a lot of training, so a lot of leads come our way, and we don't want to service them through our agency. The only reason we did an agency was to demonstrate that the principles that we teach actually work. So we farm a lot of leads to different agencies in different areas. So we have an agency that does real estate agents, one that does dentists, one that does home services, one that does, veterinarians. So we love partnering with other agencies where they give us a little piece of the revenue, and in exchange, we lend our authority and we help them grow. So that's one of my favorite things to do, because then I can actually get involved and I can see what their operations are and help them scale.
That's exciting. And that would be such a pleasure if, like guys like on our side and your side, if we can collaborate on something. We're actively working on building out our agency growth tracks, which is, blueprints for agency owners to execute step by step. And a lot of your stuff I know would come in handy. So, you can count on us having a conversation about that.
Yeah. It's simply building authority in the niche, right? So if you're Danny Barrera and you do decorative concrete, then you need to be the guy so that everyone who does that wants to work with you, because they see all the clients you have. And then you have what we call a lighthouse. The lighthouse is whoever the top player is, and you create lots and lots of content around them and you elevate whoever that person is. So what we did in pro sports was I elevated the chief marketing officer at the Golden State Warriors, and I put him on stage and interviewed him, and it made him look good and never talked about us. Because if we just talked about him and elevated him, he would talk about us.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing.
Miss.
And that's kind of what we're doing in our ad world. I'm interviewing one of our best clients, Josh Nelson, on how his experience has been with our sales associate. And, and while we're at it, we're going to talk about a few other things as well. So,
but just don't make it a testimonial. That's the minute you make it a testimonial, people realize, it's not legit.
Yeah. I think we've done a good job on it, but it will be playing in our growth tracks. You're going to be there. So let me know what you think about it. Awesome, man. Thanks a lot, Dennis. It was a pleasure having you on the show, man.
Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
This has been The Virtual Assistant, the Agency Growth Machine podcast by Azar Siddiqui, co-founder at RepStack. If you liked today's episode, you can find more and subscribe at repstack.co. Thank you for listening.